Noah wrung his hands and wept, saying, Lord, unicorns are a discontinued line. Thou couldst not get them for love nor money. And fowls of the air are sold only in half-dozen lots, Lord. Thou knowest how it is. And in his wisdom the Lord spoke, Noah, my son, what about insurance in case thou should run this ark aground atop Mount Ararat? Very downcast, Noah answered, My independent agent telleth me there doth exist a market crunch. Companies liketh not writing insurance for an ark. They fear it will be used for water skiing. They doubt my wisdom as a captain. Only one company had said they would insure this vessel, and they would charge 70 times pieces of silver with a 250-pound sacrificial lamb deductible. Verily the tribute is higher than heaven, and yet we cannot get delivery of the policy for 3 months. For the company hath changed to an abacus, and the beads are stuck fast. Having spoke thus, Noah wept, and the Lord went forth and did likewise. I thought that was appropriate after our ride on the Becky Thatcher last evening. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. But soon the king himself heard of Humpty's fate, and he was deeply disturbed. So setting aside his royal finery, disguised as a common peasant, the king slipped unnoticed through the majestic palace gates and into the rough and tumble street life of his kingdom. The king meandered through the back streets and alleys in search of Humpty. After several days and nights, the persistent monarch found him. Humpty's shattered body was scattered over a 10-foot circle amidst the broken glass and flattened beer cans of a back alley. Though weak from his searching, the king was overjoyed at the sight of Humpty. He ran to his side and cried, Humpty, it is I, your king. I have powers greater than those of my horses and men who failed to put you together again. Be at peace, I am here to help. Leave me alone, Humpty's mouth retorted. I've gotten used to this new way of life. I kind of like it now. But, was all the king could get out before Humpty continued. I tell you I'm fine, I like it here. That trash can over there, the way the sun sparkles on the broken glass. This must be the garden spot of the world. The king tried again. I assure you my kingdom has much more to offer than this back alley. There are green mountains, rolling surf, exciting cities. But Humpty would hear none of it, and the saddened king returned to the palace. A week later, one of Humpty's eyes rolled skyward, only to see once again the concerned face of the king standing over his fractured pieces. I've come to help, firmly stated the king. Look, leave me alone, will you, said Humpty. I've just seen my psychiatrist, and he assures me that I'm doing a fine job of coping with my environment as it is. You're a cop-out. A man has to deal with life as it comes. I'm a realist. But wouldn't you rather walk? Asked the king. Look, Humpty's mouth replied. Once I get up and start walking, I'll have to stay up and keep walking. At this point in my life, I'm not ready to make a commitment like that. So if you'll excuse me, you're blocking my sun. Reluctantly, the king turned once again and walked through the streets of his kingdom back to the palace. It was over a year before the king ventured to return to Humpty's side. But sure enough, one bright morning, one of Humpty's ears perked up at the sure, steady strides of the king. This time he was ready. Humpty's eye turned toward the tall figure, just as his mouth managed the words, my king. Immediately the king fell to his knees on the glass-covered pavement. His strong, knowing hands gently began to piece together Humpty's fragments. After some time, his work completed, the king rose to full height, pulling up with him the figure of a very strong young man. The two walked hand in hand throughout the kingdom. Together they stood atop lush green mountains. They ran along deserted beaches. They laughed and joked together as they strolled the gleaming cities of the king's domain. This went on forever, and to the depth, breadth, and height of their friendship, there was no end. Once, while walking together down the sidewalk in one of the king's cities, Humpty overheard a remark that made his heart leap with both the joy of his new life and the bitter memory of the back alley. Someone said, Say, who are those two men? Another replied, Why, the one on left is old Humpty Dumpty. I don't know the one on the right. but they sure look like brothers. Family? Camp Bethel is a special place of scenic beauty. As a young boy, I looked forward to our annual pilgrimage to the quiet campground high above the serene Connecticut River. This meant daily Bible school classes in the association cottage, afternoon swims in the river if the tide was high, and playing kick the can near the preacher's stand in the evenings after the camp meetings ended. In later years, camp meant enjoying the fellowship of friends of like precious faith and swapping stories of our activities since we saw each other last year. Now it is rewarding to see that our grandchildren also feel that Camp Bethel is a special place, a lifelong Bethelite. As I begin to think about camp and what it means to me, my first thought is the word Bethel itself. House of God, a holy place, holy ground. I also think of the tabernacle of Moses, wishing that each member of camp would treat and look upon this Camp Bethel as this tabernacle, holy. But then I began also to think how camp has affected me personally, and I saw a circle, but not a fully completed one. And what this circle represented was my life at camp. At the beginning of this circle were my great-grandparents, then my grandparents, and then my parents, who so lovingly brought me into this world and set me also upon the grounds of Camp Bethel, the fourth generation of our family to call camp their home. And as the circle kept moving, so did my life. I remember the people that made camp a special place for me, a special lady that I called Aunt Thelma as soon as I learned to talk, being rocked by her in her hammock, going to Bible school where Dorothy Lockwood made Jesus come to life. Getting older, and bang, I fell in love with Johnny Holland about age 9 or 10. Of course, my best friend Nancy Morgan sort of liked him too. Finally, I made it into YPI, and with all the best intentions, I found myself in plenty of hot water along with Nancy for peeking into the boys' cabin on the last night of YPI to see all the mess they had made. And then my life started to change. I fell away from the Lord. Other things seemed more important. And I remember during my black days coming onto camp to see my mother and feeling as if I shouldn't be there. And the feeling was right. I wasn't worthy of putting my feet on God's grounds, and I left quickly. At age 32, I rededicated my life to Jesus, came back to Connecticut after living on the West Coast for the past 10 years with my husband Jim, and found camp a most welcome place to be. The good ward feeling had returned as I had. And the circle, it won't be completed until I leave this earth and see my new home in heaven. But until that time, I will thank my ancestors for loving Camp Bethel as I do now, and most of all for knowing the difference of walking on the grounds of camp with clean feet rather than with unclean feet. Linda Cassidy Lane. Her mention of a circle reminds me of a poem that Dr. Stevens had on his wall at Aurora College, a poem by Edwin Markham. I think Marge has the original with her cottage or their home, called Outwitted. I have to learn how to start it now. He drew a circle that left me out, heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. I hope as we draw circles here at Camp Bethel that we are more inclusive than exclusive. On the journey of the narrow road, and those who've gone before us line the way, cheering on the faithful, encouraging the weary, their lives a stirring testament to God's sustaining grace. Surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, Let us run the race not only for the prize, but as those who've gone before us, let us leave to those behind us the heritage of faithfulness passed on through godly lives. Oh, may all who come behind us find us faithful. May the fires of our devotion light their way. May the footprints that we leave lead them to believe, and the lives we live inspire them to obey. Oh, may all who come behind us find us faithful. After all our hopes and dreams have come and gone, and our children sift through all we've left behind, may the clues that they discover and the memories they uncover becomes the light that leads them to the road we each must find. Oh, may all who come behind us find us faithful. May the fire of our devotion light their way. May the footprints that we leave lead them to believe, and the lives we live inspire them to obey. Oh, may all who come behind us find us faithful. Oh, may all who come behind us find us faithful. May the fire of our devotion light their way. May the footprints that we leave lead them to believe, and the lives we live inspire them to obey. Oh, may all who come behind us find us faithful. Faithful, faithful, faithful. Trusting in Jehovah, hearts are fully blessed, finding as he promised, perfect peace and rest. Trusting in Jehovah, hearts are fully blessed, finding as he promised, perfect peace and rest. Please continue the fellowship as you eat your evening meal and on to the evening service with the young people. Thank you.
That's one was put out by the Globe Teapot Press. It's right there in Chester.